Travel. We travel all the time, whether to the store, to visit a friend, to school, or to work. We need to travel one way or another. We travel by foot. We walk so many places. Many of us travel by car, and of course, we travel on public transportation. As parents, this video will help you to reinforce safe practices for your son or daughter. Whether they are walking or taking the bus, if they follow the rules, they will be more confident and safer when traveling on their own. It's important that you practice these skills with your child to ensure safety and confidence.
I think one of the main goals for the training video is to allow the parents to work on some of the skills that we're trying to teach our students to be safe in the community. We want them to be as independent as possible, and part of independence is being able to get from one place to another. That would involve pedestrian training and also riding the bus. The more we can do to help the students be familiar with the skills that it takes to be safe in the community, the more independent they're going to be able to be. We want them to be aware of what's going on around them. That's probably the thing we work on the most during our training, is just awareness. Not to walk with their head down or to have their hands in their pockets, but to be aware of what's going on around them so they can react or respond to whatever comes up that they don't expect.
Crossing at a signal is an important skill.
Where are you watching?
The line.
Yes. And what's the light going to do when it's okay to go?
The instructor in this case is going over what to watch for: light change, the color, and the image they should recognize before proceeding. Students are taught to push the button and step back a safe distance from the curb while waiting for the light to change. This student makes sure to look both ways and also over her shoulder. She demonstrates waiting and looking around before crossing safely. Sometimes there is no light to indicate it is safe to cross. In this case, our students are instructed to look for a stop sign. When approaching a stop sign, it is important to notice the lines in the road so the student knows where to walk while crossing the street. With help from the instructor, the student learns to notice the appropriate place and time to cross. He is instructed to look both ways for oncoming traffic and cross only when it is safe. It is also important to continue to look left and right while crossing. This student is acting on her own with supervision. She is confident in instructing a car to continue on before she decides it is safe to cross. Notice she continues to look both ways as she crosses the street. She is very proud of how well she has learned this skill. Sometimes there is no stop sign where the student wants to cross. Here, they are being instructed to cross at the corner and look in all directions before crossing the street. In the background, we see a student being supervised from a distance. It is important to allow your child to practice these skills on their own, to ensure they can do it without direct communication. It is a good idea to supervise from a distance when working with your child. It allows them and you to see where they shine and where they need improvement. Knowing what side of the sidewalk to use is important. The instructor is supervising these students from a distance as they walk and turn a corner while being aware of their surroundings. The instructor is also working with another student directly, reminding him to be aware and pay attention, even when just walking on a sidewalk. Here we see a student getting one-on-one direction on what to be aware of when crossing at an intersection. He is instructed to look in all directions, left, front, right, and behind, before crossing the street. This student has really learned the skills and is confident when she crosses the street on her own. She is aware of her surroundings and makes sure to look in all directions before and while she is crossing the street. While walking on sidewalks, there are also safety concerns. It is important to be aware of driveways, as cars may be trying to come in or out, and students are taught to look in all directions before continuing. Alleys are another concern. Students are again instructed to look in all directions, as cars may be entering or exiting. It is also important to continue looking around while crossing. We advise our students to be aware in parking lots. It is important for your child to pay attention to moving cars as well as those starting their engines. Upon hearing a car start, they should stop and look around for brake and/or reverse lights to see which car is going to be moving so that they can make sure to avoid the reversing car. We direct students to use designated pedestrian areas, usually marked in blue when available. When designated pedestrian areas are not available, students are instructed to pick a side of the aisle that seems the safest. The side with the fewest or no parked cars would be preferable. They are instructed to never walk down the center of the aisle. If they can avoid the parking lot altogether and walk around, that is suggested. It is really important not only to notice traffic, but to make sure to be noticed by drivers. This student is making sure to make eye contact with this driver before she decides it is safe to cross. While crossing, she continues to pay attention to the waiting car. While we don't encounter emergency vehicles on a regular basis, it is important to discuss with your child what to do should there be such an incident. They are instructed to stop, listen, figure out where the siren is coming from, and make sure they are in a safe area.
If a student finds themselves to be lost in a certain area, we try and show them where the safe places to go to get help would be. Those would be places like a post office, anywhere that has a flag out in front, fire station, or a school, or a post office, even a store, but they need to look for specific people who would have a name tag, show that they're an employee there rather than just to go to someone in the public. And if we're out on the street and we encounter an emergency vehicle, what would they do under those circumstances? They need to be particularly aware. They need to stop and make sure they see where the vehicle is and wait for it to pass before they would continue to go where they're going.
When approached by a stranger, they should be polite and tell the person, "I'm sorry, I don't know," or "I can't help you," and simply walk or turn away. They should do the same if approached on a bus. If the person follows them, continues to communicate, or if your child feels threatened or uncomfortable, they are instructed to flag down a police car, find a person in a uniform, or go into a business and ask a person behind a counter or with a name tag for help. If on a bus, they should ask the driver for help. It is also important to know what to do should they encounter a dog, either on or off leash. They are instructed to stay clear of the animal, as there is no way to tell if it is friendly or not. Even a small dog may be dangerous. However, if approached by a dog, it is important that they don't run or make eye contact with the dog. They are instructed to stay still and slowly walk away or let the dog pass. If they feel threatened, it is important not to panic, but to find somewhere safe, such as in a building. If not available, climb a fence, wall, or parked car. Most students use their checklist to ensure that they have all the travel information and other documents necessary for a safe journey. Here are 3 lists with skills and items that may be helpful in ensuring your child has a safe and successful journey. There are 2 skills lists to help you and your child continue to practice the skills they are being taught by their instructors. There is also a checklist to remind your child of the items they need for their trip, including bus pass, ID, and bus schedules. Make sure your child has all pertinent information, such as address of destination, as well as home address and phone number. Riding the bus is also an important skill for your child in achieving independence. Learning to locate the correct bus stop is a must. Also, making sure that it's on the correct side of the street to get to their destination is important. Once they decide it is the right stop, they are instructed to wait a safe distance from the curb. With supervision from his instructor, this student is learning to check the number on the sign and the bus to be sure they are boarding the correct bus. It is important for the student to signal the bus to stop. The correct way is to wave at the bus driver as if to say hello. Once the bus comes to a complete stop, the student checks travel information, sign, and number on the side of the bus before boarding. This is important as sometimes multiple bus lines stop at the same stop. Students are taught to not crowd at the doorway and to allow passengers to exit before boarding. This student waits for passengers to exit, gets out his pass, and calmly boards the bus. If your child uses a wheelchair, Metro has a ramp to make boarding and exiting the bus easy. Also, the bus drivers are instructed to ask passengers in wheelchairs if they would like assistance. The front of the bus is designated for people with special needs, such as this student with a wheelchair. If the seats are full, the driver will ask a passenger to please move for the rider in the wheelchair, and may also do the same for other special needs riders if requested. Wheelchairs have options of being strapped in or just locking the chair on their own. Metro keeps track of how